Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, what a treat and a privilege it is for me to be here tonight. There are a lot of other things that you all could be doing, and the fact that you too are here is a great indication of the passion that you have and the excitement and engagement that you're going to have next March when the state of Texas elects their next United States Senator. I'm Elizabeth Ames Jones. I'm the chairman of the Texas Railroad Commission. You elected me 6 years ago to serve a full term. I am doing that, and I'm limiting my own term. And I'm a woman on fire and on a mission to make sure that we return America, the exceptionalism of America, and stop the encroachment of the largest expansion of government since the New Deal. I'm excited to be here tonight. I look forward to seeing everybody after this event, answering questions, being with my colleagues in the back, and thank you all so much for the opportunity to get down here. Thank you.
Okay, let's get going. You can keep the microphone, have a seat. And as I read the question to you, they will come up on the screen here and you can refer to that.
Okay.
Okay. First question is a 2-minute response. For a long time, Congress and many presidents and courts have ignored or circumvented the Constitution. If you're elected, how will you stop this abuse, and will you do anything to reverse past violations?
If I am elected, I'll continue to do what I am doing right now in the office to which you all have already elected me to, and that is to preserve the sovereignty of the states. I've been a member of the Texas legislature, and I have a great regard and belief that the politics closest to the people is that which governs the best. The Constitution is not a list of best practices. It's not a list of suggestions. It's the law. And I have seen firsthand the encroachment upon the jurisdiction of the states, not when I was just in the legislature, but now at the Railroad Commission, the greatest energy regulatory agency, frankly, in the world. And I am seeing Washington every single day between the Department of Energy and the EPA try and usurp the jurisdiction of your state regulatory agency. And I have got a bullseye on my back because I continue to speak out against the EPA, against the Department of Energy, against the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, who would decide that they can better regulate the energy industry that has made this state so great. Texas is the #1 oil and natural gas producing state in the country. With all due respect to Alaska, it's Texas. But Texas sets the standard, the gold standard of regulatory authority. And by golly, if there is anybody who can go to Washington, know where the devil is, and that is in the details, to put a stop to it, it's me, somebody from your own backyard.
Okay, question number 2, also a 2-minute response. Elected officials seem to have a compelling desire to tweak the capitalistic economy to make it better and fairer for everyone. They only make it worse, with the lower income citizens suffering more because of the tweaking. What can be done to let the free enterprise capitalistic system work as intended, allowing all to benefit according to their individual abilities?
They've got to keep their cotton-picking hands off. They keep going in to try and re-regulate, to improve and put their own stamp to leave some kind of legacy. The United States Congress has got to leave alone and unleash the ingenuity of Americans. And Texans have shown them how we can do it. In fact, what they will do if they will get their hands off and let the market decide, let the market of millions of people picking and choosing what they can best use in their own life. And I think energy is an example. In fact, you see a government that picks winners and losers. After all, it was the federal government that picked corn-based ethanol. Well, I can tell you that corn-based ethanol is one of the biggest scams, and there are many from Washington, to be perpetrated on the American people in the last 20 years. We have got an energy resource that is so unique to America, and we've got the technology to get it out responsibly. And the energy is the people. And the energy is the ingenuity of the American public. And if the United States government, from Washington-centered, top-down oversight, will leave us alone, I can tell you that America will soar again.
Okay, question number 3. This is also a 2-minute response. Why should U.S. citizens be required by force through taxation to pay for the health care, education, incarceration, and housing of persons who enter the country illegally?
They should not be forced to do it. And this is, again, the way the Washington-centered, top-down establishment is shifting a transfer of wealth to government. They are deciding up there in Washington, not here in Texas or any other state, that our tax dollars should go to fund people who, in their view, I believe, think that they will encourage and expand and buy into this expansion of government. It's unconstitutional. The American people can't afford it anymore. We do not have the money, we do not have the resources, and we must repeal any legislation that has been passed that in fact enables that to go on. And I'll say first that Obamacare would be first on the list.
Question number 4. America was clearly founded on Judeo-Christian beliefs, yet today we see a constant assault on those beliefs. We also see a politically correct approach to the Islamic faith, refusing to speak to the truths of its belief. What can be done to level the playing field?
For those of us who embrace, and as a Christian, we know that the laws of this country, natural law, God's law, the Constitution was inspired by those laws. They were not inspired by any laws but those. And for those of us who carry on in the trenches of government or in our everyday lives and our private industries, continue to speak out, speak up, and resist, and absolutely say no, and elect people who have the will, and when we do have a majority of people who have the will to ensure that our country is returned to the Judeo-Christian principles upon which it was built. And the Constitution embraces those very principles. It's not a Constitution built on any other religious principles. And in all of every day when I serve you and as a wife and a mother, these are the things that we have instilled, Will and I, in our own children. And these are the things that I will instill in the people I serve with wherever I go.
Okay, question number 5. Our porous borders are a cultural, financial, and security threat to our country. All elected officials talk of securing the border, yet nothing significant gets done. If elected, what would you do to force the president to honor his obligation to secure our borders?
The United States of America has a constitutional obligation to secure our borders. And Texas is a state with the longest border with Mexico. But it's not just our southern border, it is our northern border as well. And upholding the sovereignty of the United States of America is an obligation of the federal government, one of the few. And they ought to be applying the laws that have already been passed, and they ought to have the means to do it. It is an obligation to us and our children for generations to come, and to those people who immigrate to America legally. They also want such an obligation fulfilled. The notion that we cannot do it may be true because they have spent all the money that it does take. We spend a smidgen of dollars on the southern hemisphere and on the southern border than the amount of money that we spend keeping security and spending in bases all around the world. I say we refocus on a border that is nearest to us to keep Texans safe, and any Texas senator ought to be out in front making sure that those dollars that are needed, the assets, the military assets, the drones, the latest technology, must be sent down to the southern border to keep our citizens safe.
Okay, these next two questions will be 30-second responses. Question one, should every bill passed by the Senate contain a reference to the Constitution that justifies its constitutionality?
I love the idea, actually. You know, it's a hypothetical question when we are not up there, but I see no reason you could not put the context, the constitutional context of the legislation. By golly, it would sure mean a shorter workday for the people in the United States Senate.
Okay, question number two, also a 30-second response. Based on recent events in Washington, will you support any action that increases the national debt?
Absolutely not. I would not support any action, and in fact, I was part of a great team of conservatives who found a way, because we had the convictions and the will to do it, to cut state agencies by 15%, and then we insisted, we started with our budget, zero-based budgeting. Not only did we cut them, but we made them start at zero and prove up every dollar they had spent. There are a lot of great ideas out there. This country is on a path, as we have seen already, that is unsustainable.
Okay, this last question is for you personally, and this is a 2-minute response. You're considered by many to be an energy expert. Can you tell us what you'd do as a senator to make us more energy independent and less vulnerable to the whims of foreign dictators?
The Department of Energy, the DOE, which I call the Department of No New Energy, which was created to get us off of our dependency on Middle Eastern oil, we have become more dependent since it has been around. It puts roadblocks, recently roadblocks, and I've been up to Washington about a month ago to testify to an advisory panel for the Energy Secretary. New regulations have come out today that drive up the cost of producing our own domestic hydrocarbons by the independent oil and gas producers who produce 80% of all the oil and natural gas in this country. It's not just the Department of Energy that I would obliterate, get rid of, zero out completely, and the thousands of bureaucrats who are not making us any more energy secure, but it is other agencies as well, like the EPA, who need to have their funding cut drastically, if not go away completely. They are not making us safer or more energy secure, and America can be energy secure for generations to come if we drill responsibly in our own backyard and in the great Gulf of Mexico, which is a national treasure. And we've got to use the energy we have, find it responsibly, and make sure that generations to come don't have to worry when they go to flip a switch if their lights are going to come on, or if they can afford to heat their homes in the winter or cool them in the summer.
Thank you very much for your responses. Now you'll have 2 minutes as a summarization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can't tell you what a privilege it has been for me to stand for election before you in the past. I went out and ran for a state house seat against another Republican in 2000. People thought I couldn't do it, I shouldn't do it. We couldn't run against other Republicans, but I wasn't willing to sit back and sit on the sidelines, and I felt a moral imperative there to give better leadership to the district I represented in South Texas. And that is the moral imperative I feel now. I'm a mother and a wife of Will Jones, who couldn't be here tonight, William and Annabelle, and I am a daughter, and I'm a sister, and I'm a cousin. And I'm an energy regulator. And it's true, I've been part of the Energy Regulatory Agency and overseen the responsible production of billions of barrels of crude oil and millions of BTU, British thermal units, of natural gas. And there is nobody in the United States of America elected today who knows more about energy than I do. And that's not bragging if it's true. I didn't mean for it to happen. But I went and I did my job, and I promised that I would keep Texas the #1 oil and natural gas producing state, and I did, and my term is up. I am a native Texan, and I have been born and bred here, and I am instilled with the strength of my grandmothers, both of them, and my own mother. And I embrace the independent spirit that has made this great state as exceptional as it is. And I was part of all of the great things that we can claim now, and a certain person is claiming on the presidential campaign, and I was there and I did it. And so there is a great difference between us. Although there are a lot of, these candidates have a great mission, but I have done it. Thank you all so much for your past support, and I'm asking for your vote again.